So the head. People forget that whatever you do with the head has a very distinct influence on the face. And you can use the head to manipulate the face in many different ways. Some as subtle as just the direction that the head is tilted in, right? One might think like, obviously these examples drawn here are extremes, but even doing a little bit of angular direction in your head can cast a completely different feeling for a shot or a completely different emotion. So those varying degrees can convey extremely different ideas. You could say the exact same thing looking someone straight on, like, hello, Clarice, it's been a while, right? Or you could say like, hello, Clarice, I don't know, whatever, like, hello, Clarice, I don't know. You get what I'm saying, that those three things can be very different, and we'll pick up on those small changes. It doesn't have to be like as big as this, right? Even just a little bit of that or a little bit of this, like what did you say to me? You know, like tilting your head up even ever so slightly can have a vast impact. So angle your head to camera, try to find the most appealing position. Usually an up tilt is somewhat of a confident, I look down upon you kind of stance. This would be a neutral, we're eye level, so I see you as an equal. And this would be more of like I don't want to mess with you, I'm shy, or, you know, I consider myself a lesser than you. Just general concepts, doesn't have to be that black and white, but just usually that's how it works. I find that I usually don't go low like this. There's very few characters I've ever had to animate that spoke like this. Usually neutral will be like 90-95% of everything you do, and then maybe like an antagonist or like a bad guy, or just someone who thinks they're superior might have a little bit of like this, usually like right, like I don't abide by your rules kind of stuff. So keeping a steady head, what does that mean? Let's look at this example. This guy's holding I should probably known what is a hawk. He's got a hawk. It says so on the video. But let's look at what that hawk's doing. Let's look at the incredible head stabilization that birds possess in general. Obviously, we don't have this, right? Birds are a special breed that can do this. As a species, they have this excellent control over their bodies, and this helps them in hunting. This helps them, you know, stabilizing flight paths, all that good stuff. They have extreme focus on their heads, and it's partially because their heads have this individual control around them. So this is the kind of thing that we want to somewhat try to emulate in animation, in that we want our head to remain the focus of that attention in a shot. We want the face to be the focus. Obviously, we can't put our heads in world space IK to where our body's just like moving around their heads and we're just doing this. That's not going to work. Keeping that head stabilized and being aware of where that head is in the space of your shots will help keep our attention as an audience focused on where it's supposed to be, on the delivery of the line. It's very easy for people to be like, oh, look over there, I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to move like this, and I'm just going to like rotate in Z and X and all over the place, and it's hard to follow what the character is saying. We used to say at Blue Sky that your face is like a stage. There's a stage happening within your face. Your entire face is like a play. Your eyes are your actors, your mouths are, you know, whatever, like everything in there is working as a stage. So you don't want your stage to be moving around too much to where the audience is unable to see what's happening on there. So you'll see a few shots in this where we keep the head steady enough that we are reading exactly what the character's saying, but they're still able to act and emote and be like, what? Like, they're still moving within this. Colette is like one of my favorite characters in this movie. So she has an excellent example of, as she's reading, our attention is focused on her eyes, where she's looking and what she's saying, and everyone else is kind of in support of that around her. So let's take a look at that.
Very well. If it's linguine they want,
tell them Chef Linguini has prepared something special for them. Something definitely off menu. Oh, and don't forget to stress its linguininess.
Oui, chef. Now is your chance to try something worthy of your talent.
Sweetbread à la gusto. Sweetbread cooked in a seaweed salt crust with cuttlefish tentacle, dog rose puree, gooey duck egg, dried white fungus, and anchovy licorice sauce. I don't know this recipe, but it's gusto, so... Lalo! We have some veal stomach smoking, yes?
Yes, veal Feel stomach.
So let's dissect this a little bit and take a look. So here is Bad Chef. I forget this guy's name every time. I'm like, I don't even know this guy's name. He's Bad Chef. Bad Chef comes in, and we've decided that this is where we're gonna look. This is where he's gonna deliver his line. This other guy is kind of just gonna be in support of what he's saying. He's gonna lean in, but otherwise, this is that circle, that sphere that we're just going to try and live with it. And as he speaks, you'll see that he's kind of pushing the boundaries of that, right? Obviously, it's a circle that I drew, but it's kind of just to show you how tamed the movement is. He is able to act within that movement and throw up his shoulders and move around, but so that we don't lose the face as to what he's saying, he stays within this. And it's just like, oh yeah, give him the recipe from Gusto, you know, but he's moving just within this. What I especially like about it is that he turns to leave, right? But he comes back right within the exact same circle. Like that's exactly where we were looking before he turned, and he came back to that so that there wasn't going to be strain on us as an audience to follow what was happening. Again, using the simplest solution to keeping our attention focused where it already was, right? There's no need to move him somewhere else. There's no need to do something complicated, just act within that sphere. So then we have Colette. Again, I really love Colette. I wish she had more time in this movie because she's a fantastic character. She's really fun. And in this, she is just reading off what she's saying, but look at the change in expressions that she's making. Look at how she goes from just apathetic, almost like, oh, this, and she goes, octopus, licorice, whatever, all the stuff that she's reading. And she's starting to change her expression slowly throughout. But it's very easy for us to read that expression because we see what she's focused on and her head is not moving more. She could be like, octopus, licorice, what? She could be doing all this, but instead she chooses to stay in this area, very focused, clear, and simple. A little added bonus is that when we change shots to Remy inside of Linguini's hat, notice how even Remy is inside the circle as we're cutting to a new thing. Like, this is absolutely on purpose. This is a technique called Itrace, which as a director is watching his own movie, he's going to comment, he or she's going to comment on Itrace, which is where was the spot we were last looking at? And as we change shot, as we change scene, is our center of focus still on that last spot? Because if I'm looking at the top left and then you cut to a different shot and we're in the top right, I'm going to be like, oh, where am I looking? Okay. I'm going to miss what's happening in that shot for a few milliseconds because I'm trying to refocus my attention. So none of this is by accident. This is all completely on purpose. Remy is still in the point of interest. We cut back to this. And again, Colette's face stays perfectly within the sphere. She delivers her line, even for that big lalo, right? Which is, I love that piece of animation as there's so much pull on her mouth. There's so much like lalo as she pulls forward. But even that big, nice curve, appealing shapes stays within the circle. And then of course she walks off because we don't need to follow her so much anymore. But the same thing could be probably said for Linguini. If you were to draw a circle around him, you'd see that he's staying within that circle. He's not moving overly dramatic in an overly dramatic fashion that is unnecessary to the shot.